I would like to think of the time when this would be the appropriate thing to do with a mask. However, we need to keep wearing them for a while longer to make sure that we can deal with some of those challenges that are still ongoing. I feel like I should have been the segue from the past to the future. So let me just make a couple of remarks. As Hank mentioned, we have some of the people here, and obviously there are predecessors that were very important during the 10 years preceding the start of trying to build this museum. And we have a lot of new people that have come through the organization, probably underlying the correct vision that Paul had about we're going to have people that can accomplish all these changes and bridge their way from one period of life to another in a business, in a community, and hopefully in the world. Because we face many challenges there that we have been reminded of a lot during the last year. So what I would say is 10 years before this building started, a group of us had the impossible dream. Some of you know that that was sort of my vision for getting the Dalí built, which required finding a site, getting a great architect to design the building, hiring all the contractors and subcontractors, having the right people in place on the board, getting the board coalesced in a selection of what we should do, and then we had to fund it, which was no mean task. You know, today the Dalí is much larger in the world of art than it was when we started building the new building. But we did know we had a collection that deserved a safer situs than we had in our old building, which, can you imagine a direct hit on Tampa Bay, tossing around boat projectiles and bringing 150-mile-an-hour winds here, what would have happened in our old location? And I can assure you that was the prime objective, but I would have told you the almost as important objective. We needed to have a place that befitted the quality of the art that Reynolds and Eleanor Morse donated to this community to make it a real art town. And we had a great chance to create this iconic building behind us if we could put together all those pieces and make a great new building. And who would say that this beautiful structure that houses this building, but is also, as I often call it, a bunker against a hurricane attack, it isn't appropriate. It's not only beautiful, it's very functional. It was much larger than its predecessor to serve a larger clientele. We had the vision in financing this to projecting what a new building would do. And let me tell you, we beat those numbers hollow, in spite of the fact it was with some degree of trepidation those of us adopted those kinds of numbers and wondered if we could create enough revenues to afford to reside in the building that we were going to build. And so what you see now is an answer to that question. Now, somebody ought to have said, what's new at the Dalí today, right, as part of this segue? And what I would tell you is Hank, his staff, and the board have been very engaged in working on what's new at the Dalí that we should get involved with to keep moving that vision forward, because really change is what we're talking about, and change doesn't end, and we need to be able to continue to adapt to that change. The Dalí, because what has been invested in here and what a reputation it has achieved over that period of time, I am sure that the Dalí will continue to contribute and actually deal with all the change that it faces and create change and innovate in the community to assure its future going forward. So when I look at this, my dream is St. Pete and indeed Tampa Bay now have the makings of having an art community as a destination venue for all the world that will be as important as all of our natural attributes that have led to our success to date, and will assure us the future growth to be able to sustain the arts and the business and this world. Who would have believed that my new employees would be settling in downtown St. Petersburg today? I got here when I was 3, and I grew up here, and if you'd have told me in the early 60s that we were going to have the bars open at midnight, I would have think people had gone crazy. They were still rolling up the green benches at 6 p.m. So, you know, the fact is, there's been terrific change, amazing change here. The restaurants downtown, well represented here, I would tell you they're terrific. And they've got great leaders involved and much higher quality than we have ever had. And so the future of this town and this Tampa Bay community, because I'm a regionalist on this one, I always have been. That's why our offices are seated right at the base of the Howard Franklin Bridge, which is our connector. And I think it's extremely important you understand that we do all need to work together. But I have the confidence, as has been expressed, and I have to compliment the speakers who represented all kinds of various activities in our community. I mean, our educators spoke to us a week ago. The superintendents of Pasco, Hillsborough, and Pinellas. And you heard Michael repeat some of the things that are going on, but if he just touched the surface of that, I can tell you how many new things that today are being experimented with and introduced in our communities that we in the business world need to sustain hiring great people to come to work here. So I look at the Dalí as the icon that will lead the movement of the arts, but indeed be the icon for St. Petersburg as part of Tampa Bay, as a building that represents the ability to deal with change, represent it safely, beautifully, and quite appropriately for the great community that we have today. Thank you.